This story is about a big ship called Poseidon. It's so large that it has many floors, and today, a lot of people are on board. Everyone is happy because it's the night of December 31st, and a new year will begin tomorrow. Some people are having a party, some are playing cards, and some are dancing. In the control room, the captain feels something is wrong. Then, he sees a huge wave coming toward the ship. The captains get scared and try to turn the ship quickly. They manage to turn it, but the wave is so big that it hides the moon, which was visible behind it. This means the wave is much bigger than their ship. The crew announces that a big problem is coming and warns everyone to be careful. Chaos breaks out when the huge wave hits the ship. The pressure from the wave is so strong that Poseidon, the large ship, completely flips upside down in the sea. The top part of the ship goes under the water, and the bottom part comes up. When the ship turns over, everything falls and breaks. Many people drown in the sea, and there is a big explosion in the engine room, killing the captains who were controlling the ship. In the ship's main hall, where most of the people are, an officer arrives and says, "I have good news and bad news." The bad news is that a huge tsunami wave hit the ship, flipping it upside down, so no one can get out. The good news is that, just before the wave hit, our officers contacted the rescue team, who will come soon with helicopters to save us. So, everyone should stay calm, as help will arrive soon. Now we see a man named Dallin. He is taking important things from a dead officer nearby. A child comes to him and asks, "What are you doing?" Dallin replies, "I'm getting ready to leave from here." The child says, "You can't leave. The ship has turned upside down," but Dallin explains that there is a way out. As he starts to leave, the child brings his mother, who recognizes Dallin because they've met before. The mother asks Dallin, "What did you tell him? Can you really leave from here?" Dallin says, "Yes, I know a way." At this moment, another man, Robert, and an old man join them. The old man says he is an architect, someone who designs buildings and ships. He explains that this ship wasn't built to float upside down, which means it will sink and everyone will die. Robert then asks Dallin, "Do you know the way to the disco?" Dallin says, "Yes, it's above us, but why do you want to go there in this situation? Do you want to dance?" Robert responds, "No, my daughter is stuck there." Robert then asks a crew member for help, asking him the shortest way to get up. The crew member uses hand signs to explain. Robert promises to pay him double his monthly salary if he helps them. The man agrees, so now he will go with Robert. Robert then tells Dallin, "Listen, if you have a plan, we now have a guide who knows the ship well. If we work together, we have a better chance to survive." Dallin finally agrees, and they decide to go together. The group then heads toward the lower part of the ship, which is now on top since the ship is flipped. They plan to escape by going through a route near the big fans that power the ship. However, they find that all the doors are sealed to keep water out. They decided to open the elevator door, but the elevator was very high up. Using a large iron bar, they tried to make a path to open the door and escape, but despite their efforts, they couldn't get the door open. However, the elevator door on the upper floor suddenly opened. The group helped each other climb toward the elevator, but two people, an old man and a ship guard, were left behind. As they were climbing, the iron bar they were using slipped and fell, leaving them hanging over a deep drop. If they fell, they would die. To make things worse, the elevator above was slowly coming down. Dallin grabbed the old man's hand while the other held onto the old man's leg, trying to climb up. Dallin tried to pull them up, but the weight was too much, and he couldn't do it. Seeing the elevator getting closer, Dallin told the old man, "You need to let him go, or both of you will die." The old man hesitates, but eventually, he shakes off the guide, causing him to fall and die. As soon as Dallin pulls the old man up, the elevator crashes down, creating a huge explosion and spreading fire everywhere. Dallin and Robert quickly close the elevator door, but now one person has died. Only 5 of them are left, so they continue moving forward. After going a little further, they reach the disco area, where Robert finds his daughter and her friend. There are also 2 other people there, so now their group has grown to 9. They realize they must get to the top of the ship quickly because it's going to sink. Their path is blocked again, and they realize if they try to cross, they could be killed. The iron railing ahead is broken, but they think they can use it to cross to the other side. 5 people start climbing the broken railing, crossing to the other side one by one. As they make it across, Robert tells his daughter, "Now it's your turn." But before she can go, a drunk man from the disco shows up and insists on going first. As he starts crossing, a large part of the engine falls on him, causing the railing to break. A lot of oil spills into the water, and because of the falling sparks, the water catches fire. Now the drunk man is dead, leaving only 8 survivors. But Robert, his daughter, and Dallin are still stuck. With the fire in the water and the broken railing, there's no safe way for them to cross. Dallin comes up with a plan. He ties a rope to a pipe and jumps into the water, knowing that the fire won't reach him underwater. He swims to the other side, ties the rope, and helps Robert and his daughter cross safely. Now, all 8 survivors are together and continue climbing up. Dallin proves to be very knowledgeable because he once worked in the Navy. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, back in the ship's hull, the people waiting for help grow increasingly nervous. The water pressure is so strong that even the thick glass begins to crack. When the glass finally breaks, water rushes in with force, drowning everyone in the hull. Their screams are heard by the 8 survivors, who realize that all those people have died. The area where the survivors are also starts filling with water, and they search for a way out. They find a small ventilation shaft, but only one person can go through it at a time. The group begins crawling through the shaft one by one, with Robert leading and Dallin at the back. As the group continues to crawl through the ventilation, they notice water starting to rise from below, which means the ventilation is also filling with water. When they reach the end of the tunnel, they find a net blocking their way. Robert tries hard to open it, but he can't because there's a nut holding it in place, and his hand can't fit through to reach it properly. The girl who had been hiding on the ship without a ticket takes off her cross necklace and gives it to Robert, suggesting they use it to open the nut. The child takes the cross and slowly manages to unscrew the nut since his hands are small enough to reach it. However, the water is rising quickly and Dallin, who is at the bottom, is about to drown. Fortunately, just in time, the net opens and everyone rushes out one by one, saving Dallin's life. Now they only need to climb 2 more floors to escape, but when they move ahead, they find themselves trapped in a tank. Water is rising from below, and they can't go back. The only way out is through a small, sealed passageway, but it's locked tight. Dallin explains that they are in a tank used to balance the ship, and when it fills with water, the door to the small passage will open, allowing the water to flow into another tank. Once the door opens, they can escape. Robert's daughter becomes anxious, worrying that the door might not open even after the tank is full. She also fears they might run out of air before they can escape. Dallin, frustrated and anxious himself, says he doesn't know what will happen, but insists they have no other choice. Robert and Dallin then decide to start filling the tank with water, hoping it will trigger the door to open. They slowly begin the process, knowing this is their only chance to survive. When the tank is finally filled with water, the door doesn't open at first, leaving the group feeling hopeless. But just as they start to lose hope, the door suddenly opens, and the force of the water pushes them through to the next tank. Although they've escaped the tank, their problems aren't over yet. They now have to swim to the other side to get out of the ship. As they swim, the girl who had been hiding on the ship for a long time gets her clothes stuck in a wire. The old man tries to save her, but by the time he pulls her out, her breath has given out and she dies. Now, only 7 people are left. They continue moving forward and reach a floor with large fans, the place they need to escape from. However, when they arrive, they see that the area is flooded, with dead bodies floating in the water. Dylan explains that the place they need to reach is underwater, and it's too far away with the water rising. He thanks Dylan for trying so hard to save them, but admits that maybe it's their fate to die on the ship. Just then, a massive explosion occurs in the engine room, causing the water to drain out of the flooded area. This clears the path to where the big fans are, giving them a chance to escape. As the group faces yet another problem, they see that the fan is still spinning, and it's not just spinning normally. It's rotating in the opposite direction, pushing air toward them. This makes it impossible to throw anything toward the fan, as everything would just come back to them. Robert finds a map and realizes that the control room, where the fans can be turned off, is just below the fans, but it's 150 feet away. Getting there, however, means risking their lives. Despite the danger, Robert is ready to go. Robert's daughter cries, begging him not to go, but her friend insists that someone has to. Eventually, Robert dives into the water and heads toward the control room. However, the water is still rising, and if they don't close the fans or escape soon, they will all drown. Robert reaches the control room and tries to shut off the fans, but the button is broken. Struggling to breathe and on the verge of collapsing, Robert spots a different button that can reverse the direction of the fans, giving them a chance to survive. In the final moments, Robert, with only seconds to spare before he dies, manages to press the button that reverses the fans. He sacrifices his life to save the others. As Robert's daughter's friend notices the air pressure has now shifted, Dylan throws a large cylinder towards the fans, causing a massive explosion that finally stops the fans. With the way now clear, they escape the ship. One by one, the ship, Poseidon, sinks into the water, but they manage to reach a small rescue boat that came from Poseidon, as there were many lifeboats on the ship. As they get on the boat, Poseidon begins to fall toward them, but they quickly row away, escaping its impending collapse. Hours ago, Poseidon had been floating calmly on the water, but now it's fully submerged. The rescue team spots them after seeing the flare gun fired by the group. Soon, they are rescued, and all 6 survivors are saved. The story ends with their lives spared after all the struggles and dangers they faced.